Health insurance is must in India. People who don't have them and then end up at the hospital realize the true cost of healthcare in India. It's very expensive.
How does the restoration of sum assured work in health insurance policies?
If you have a 10 lakh policy and your first claim for chemotherapy was 5 lakhs, the next claim, one would think you have only 5 lakh rupees left, but you would instead have 5 plus 10, 15 available. Every single time you claim, you get 10 lakh rupees restored in your account. That's the beauty of restoration.
Based on my step count, if I recorded my step count daily on that app, that it would give me a 20 to 30% discount on my premium if I maintained a 6,000, 7,000 daily step in that app. I mean, how does that work?
If you do 10,000 steps a day for 281 days in a year, your premiums are free. A feature called Log the Clock, where whenever you buy the policy at whichever age, the premium is fixed till you don't claim in your life. So let's say you're 35 and you bought the policy at 28,000. If you're 68 and you still didn't claim, it stays at 28,000. It's unbelievable.
Guys, welcome to the second segment of our podcast on health insurance with Gaurav Nemani. I think that if you guys haven't seen the first part, I've given the link below. Please click on that link and go watch it because you'll get a lot of basic knowledge about what health insurance is. This podcast is for a lot of people who are about to take their health insurance or who have already taken their health insurance. And this podcast, this second segment will deepen your information or deepen your knowledge about health insurance. So Gaurav, again, like starting with something very basic, is that why is health insurance important in India?
So with the current uncertainty that healthcare has in India in general, and our lifestyle as well, people often don't understand that they could fall sick anytime. And that is the reason why health insurance is must in India. Also, from my experience, what I've seen is people who don't have them and then end up at the hospital realize the true cost of healthcare in India. It's very expensive. And it breaks the bank, it breaks their capital, it brings them down financially for a couple of years. And that's something you don't want. So health insurance is a must.
No, I feel you. I've been there. But, in the first segment, you were speaking about restoration and we thought that we'll discuss it in the second segment. So how does the restoration of sum assured work in health insurance policies? And what is restoration?
Okay, so restoration is basically if a person has bought, let's say, a 10 lakh rupee policy, and in the first year or the second year, in any year, if they have utilized the entire 10 lakhs, back in the day, that was it. You had no other coverage. Now, insurance has a concept called restoration. So if you've utilized 10 lakh rupees in your tenure of 1 year, you get another 10 lakhs.
In the same year?
In the same year. The second 10 lakhs that you get, that feature is called restoration of the sum insured. Some companies offer it once, some offer it twice in a year, some offer it unlimited times. That's the best you can buy. So a restoration is basically if you utilize the entire sum insured of your policy, it gets restored once again for you. You get a 10 lakh rupees more. And then if you utilize that again, and if you have policy as an unlimited restoration, you keep getting 10 lakh rupees.
So let me understand this with an example. I'm 36, I'm 35, almost 36, about to be. And if I buy an insurance today, say 10 years down the line, I get cancer, right? And my chemo costs per month, God knows what it will be 10 years down the line, but say it is 5 lakhs every month, right? In 2 months, I've completed my claim of 10 lakhs.
So as soon as you took your first claim, which is 5 lakh rupees,
it'll be restored back to 10 lakhs.
Restoration.
If it has unlimited restoration.
Perfect. So even better. So if you have a 10 lakh policy and your first claim for chemotherapy was 5 lakhs, the next claim, one would think you have only 5 lakh rupees left, but you would instead have 5 plus 10, 15 available.
Okay.
So the next claim, when you again did 5 and there's still some insured left, so since some insured is still left, you get another 10 lakhs. That keeps on happening for you. Every single time you claim, you get 10 lakh rupees restored in your account. That's the beauty of restoration. It can be a huge benefit to a person who cannot afford to buy a very expensive policy. but needs the sum insured when required, especially in the case that you mentioned with cancer. It's because it's a repetitive treatment that you have month on month or year on year.
Because it's a super knowledge to have. Like if I get any patients or if I have people who have a history of recurrent disease, say cancer or diabetes, I would always recommend them to buy a policy which is, say, a recurrent policy which they could use year on year. Gaurav, this just seems unbelievable that I buy an unlimited restoration and my policy keeps restoring itself. I mean, is the premium sky high?
Not at all. So it most policies nowadays come with restoration built in, and it's built into the premium that you pay. Some policies offer it as an optional or an add-on in our case. So you just buy that, and it's not very expensive at all. It'll probably be 5% or 8% of the entire premium that you're paying.
Right. So if I'm paying 10,000, then it would be, say, 500,000 rupees extra.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. I think
It
that's
does.
super advice for people who are, already buying health
And
insurance, that they
I've
need to see
had
the
so
policy.
many cases where it's come in use to the person. They're still claiming and they still have some insured, and it's unbelievable to them that they bought a 10 lakh rupee policy, but they've already claimed 32, 33 lakh rupees.
And that gets restored again next year.
Yeah.
But then I'm just curious, what is the difference between zonal and pan India policies? Like if I take a health insurance policy from you, do I only get that insurance coverage in, say, West Bengal, where we are currently, or do I get it all over India?
So the answer is multi-scape, because different companies have different rules when it comes to zones. Certain companies have one single zone, pan India coverage, no matter which policy you buy. All of them are single zoned, pan India policies. You can go anywhere in India. Certain policies are made with certain zones. So, for example, they would say zone 1 is Delhi, Mumbai. Zone 2 is, let's say, Bangalore, Indore, uh, Navi Mumbai, or Calcutta, Ranchi. All of that would be zone 2. And zone 3 would be rest of India. So if you're, let's say, from zone 2, which is Calcutta in this case, and you bought a policy, zone 3 is free for you. You can go to any zone 3. You can go to any zone 2. But zone 1, you would have to pay a co-payment, which is 10%, 15%, 20%, depending on the policy. Now, I'm trying to tell you that this is usually the case, but then there are certain policies that have two zones, and you buy a zone 2 policy, but zone 1 is still free for you. So it again depends on the policy.
Right.
You have to read the terms and conditions. You have to ask an advisor, or you have to study the policy a little bit before you buy.
Right. There is a question I have in my mind, but I'll ask that in my third segment where things get more advanced, because I really want to understand how these things are calculated. Like
Mhm.
I know there's actuarials used for these calculations,
Yeah.
but I'll probably ask them in my third segment where it gets more intense. But there are certain words which are always thrown around in health insurance: the top up plan, super top up plan. So what is the difference between a super top up plan and a top up plan?
That's a very interesting question. And it's one that most people confuse with. So, first of all, before we discuss about a top up and a super top up, I would like to tell you that what a top up is. A top up is a policy over and above your base policy. These policies generally have a deductible and a sum insured. All right. A deductible is the amount till which the insurance company does not pay the claim. So, for example, your policy is a 20 lakh top up, which is the sum insured 20 lakhs, and it has a deductible of 5 lakhs. Till 5 lakhs, a claim amount of 5 lakhs in a year, you do not get paid. When the claim amount crosses 5 lakhs, you start getting paid from the insurance company. So, first of all, that is very important for all the people here to understand that what exactly is a top up or a super top up. So, it's a policy over and above your base policy to get a rather high coverage, a rather high sum insured.
So something that is thrown around in health insurance a lot is top up plan and super top up plan. What is the difference between a top up and a super top up?
A top up and a super top up, the main difference is that in the top up, every claim has to cross the threshold of the deductible. Every claim. So, for example, you have a 20 lakh rupee policy with a 5 lakh deductible. In the first claim was 6 lakh rupees. So, hence, after 5 lakhs, that extra 1 lakh will be paid by the insurance company. But if your second claim was 2 lakhs, hence, they will not pay because you haven't crossed the threshold of the deductible. Those were top ups. Those have almost become absolute. Now it's an aggregate. So in the entire year, from one claim, two claims, or X amount of claims, if you've crossed 5 lakhs, the company starts paying. So again, the same example, 20 lakh rupee sum insured, 5 lakh rupee deductible. Your first claim was 2 lakhs. Insurance company does not pay. The second claim was again 2 lakhs. The insurance company does not pay. But the third claim was, let's say, 4 lakhs. So the aggregate so far is 2 plus 2 plus 4. You've crossed the threshold of 5. Hence, the insurance company starts paying.
That's for the super top up.
That's for the super top up. That's the main difference between the two.
But then, I'm sorry, I'm just interjecting here because wouldn't it be better to just take an unlimited restoration plan instead of a top up plan? Because as I understand it, a top up plan is above and beyond your normal insurance policy coverage.
Yeah. So it's an enhanced policy over and above your base policy. But no. The answer to my question, to your question, would be no. You cannot just buy unlimited restoration and discount it as a better alternative to a top up or a super top up. A super top up policy is like your safety net. So, like I said, a restoration only happens when you had the first claim. What if the first claim was 30 lakhs?
Right. Like if I had, say, a neurobrain surgery
Right.
and it cost 25 lakhs and I had a
Yes.
10 lakh healthcare policy.
So you won't get
So
another
then after
15
5 lakh
lakhs.
deductible, I'd probably get 20 lakhs and
Exactly.
5 lakhs is something I would have had to pay. Okay, now
Perfect.
I understood.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that's something that I think a lot of people need to know because,
Yeah.
which brings me to my next point because you were talking about top up and super top up, it just reminded me of my sister who's working in Delhi and she works in one of those fancy, financial firms where they have a corporate health insurance also.
Yeah.
Right. So what I want to understand is there a difference between a corporate health insurance and individual? I mean, would that be different for
Yeah, so there is a huge difference in the two, in the sense that the corporate health insurance is given to you by your employer. It's an added benefit to you. It's an employee benefit. It's a way to keep you in the company, giving you additional benefits. But you don't own that policy. You cannot make changes to that policy. The policy is actually owned by the employer and not you. You're just a part of that policy, a part of a policy which has, let's say, 400 other people and all enjoying the similar types of benefits. All right. Let's say you wanted to add a feature, you can't, to a corporate health policy. That's the con. The other con is that you cannot, when you move from one employee to the other employee may have a corporate policy, may not. If they don't have one, you end up not getting a policy. So you're solely dependent on your employer.
Right.
That's the problem. The pro, and this is a very big pro, they're generally cheaper. Either 100% paid by the employer or you pay like a 20%, 30%.
very minuscule amount?
Very minuscule amount. And you can get good coverage.
Because a lot of people don't know that I take all my health insurance policies from you, like my entire family does. And something very unique that I noticed last time is that I took this, I won't name the company, but I took this health insurance policy from you where I downloaded this app. And it was like based on my step count, if I recorded my step count daily on that app, that it would give me a 20 to 30% discount on my premium if I maintained a 6,000, 7,000 daily step in that app. I mean, how does that work? That's so innovative.
So the first company that introduced this was Aditya Builder. And hats off to them. They've started a new trend in the insurance world. Most companies are now on board. So staying active is something you get rewarded for. This is in the industry first when it's first happened. Now it's an old feature, but it was an industry first when it happened. It's super exciting that Aditya Birla has now, since you had that policy, now they've enhanced that policy further. So let's say a person who stays active, who has 10,000 steps a day, or goes to the gym for 30 minutes, or does yoga even. Uh, Yoga is very difficult to figure out how you're doing that. So they do two tests. They do an internal test when you buy the policy, and then they do an external test when you finish the policy. And they test your heart score, they test other parameters of your health. And now it's nice to know that they are giving 100% premium discounts.
100%.
Yes. So if you do 10,000 steps a day for 281 days in a year, your premiums are free. So there are a lot such innovations out in the market. The insurance world is changing. Health insurance, the landscape of it in India is changing. It's innovating itself on a daily basis.
So, we just spoke about step count and how, if you walk 10,000 steps a day, you could like literally get 100% discount. Are there other innovations in the health insurance industry that people can be aware about?
So the health insurance industry is innovating on a daily basis. There are so many innovations. Let me tell you, one of them is from Niva Bhupa. They've had again an industry first feature called Lock the Clock. So Anant, what's your age now?
35.
35. So your premium would be around 28,000, 30,000,
Yeah.
roughly that
Yeah.
you would be paying. But you know that health insurance every 5 years the premium changes, right? So you're 34, 35, when you're 36 the premium changes. Again when you're 41, 5 years later it changes. And it's expensive when you get older. It's very expensive when you get older. Niva Hoopas launched a feature called Lock the Clock, where whenever you buy the policy at whichever age, the premium is fixed till you don't claim in your life. So let's say you're 35 and you bought the policy at 28,000. If you're 68 and you still didn't claim, it stays at 28,000. It's unbelievable. It's a fantastic proposition by Niva Bhupa. It's something that I think most companies will get on board with. It's going to be a feature that'll help a lot of people over the years.
I think that's brilliant. Like, I'm thinking of changing my policy now
Yeah.
to Niva. Like, what if I'm 50 and then use my policy? I'd have to pay the same insurance amount every year then.
So at 50, when you do claim, your premiums start increasing as per the usual rate. So
Right.
51, then again 56, so on and so forth every 5 years.
Right. Fair enough. Fair enough. But like, coming to this premium part, like the Gen Z is obsessed with saving money, building wealth, and retiring very early in life. And I was just thinking out loud, like about tax benefits that health insurance have. Like, could you explain what are the exact tax benefits that you can get from a health insurance policy in India?
So the major tax benefit that you get is a deductible for 80D. That's the only one that you can get from health insurance. 80D has basically 4 different levels. All right. The first one is that if you're buying a policy for yourself, for your spouse, and for your children, and you're not a senior citizen, then you can get up to 25,000 rupees deduction in 80D. And if you're buying for self, spouse, children, and parents, and none of your parents are senior citizens, then you can get up to 50,000. Okay. If you're buying for self, spouse, children, and parents, and either one of your parents are a senior citizen, then you can get up to 75,000. And or if you're a senior citizen yourself and you buy a policy for yourself and your spouse and also children, then you can get up to 50,000. So there are 4 different levels: 25, 50, 75, and a whole different one for senior citizens specifically, which is 50,000.
Right. That's really good to know because a lot of people would be. I don't know if everyone deducts their health insurance policy, but if you're not, please tell your CA about it and tell them that you have
Absolutely.
an health
And
insurance
I would
policy.
just say that you can obviously buy policies as you have young corporate uh, viewers. I would definitely say that they can start paying for their parents. And since they start paying for their parents, instead of 25,000, instantly it's 50,000. So they can reduce a lot of their tax. The only thing you have to remember is that you are the proposer in the policy and the 80D certificate is in your name.
That's
That's
a
it.
very good point. That's a very good financial biohack for people because if you guys are working in corporates, please take health insurance for your parents also, because instead of 25,000 you can get a 50,000 rupees cover,
Right.
right? No, but what if like people like me or anyone has pre-existing conditions? I know, like I was late to the run. I didn't take my health insurance earlier.
Mm.
I'm a little old now. I have diabetes, I have hypertension, blood pressure, and whatnot. Like, what do I do then? Like, what does health insurance coverage work for pre-existing conditions? Is the insurance very high?
Not really. I wouldn't say it's high. I would rather say that if you're late into the run and you've already come in contact with some of these lifestyle ailments such as hypertension, diabetes, asthma, thyroid, uh, I would I would say that for everything there's a percentage. Most companies have a fixed percentage. So if it's diabetes, it's 20%. If it's hypertension, it's 15%. So if you have any of these ailments, you pay that much extra and get it covered.
What about if I declare that I'm smoking and drinking?
Depends how much you are smoking and how much you're drinking. If you're doing it a lot, they would not take your policy. But if you're doing it in an acceptable level, they'll charge you 20%, 15%, depending on how much you declare.
But then, I mean, I'm just saying that no one would declare very high, right? I mean, why would you want to get rejected from your health insurance? You would just say that I'm maybe smoking 2 cigarettes a day. Is there some way the insurance company can find out later?
Absolutely. I mean, let's say somebody who declared that he has 1 or 2 cigarettes a day,
Hmm.
uh, and then 2, 3 years down the line, that person has a lung disorder, which is induced by smoking. The doctor would know, right? You would declare it to the doctor. Otherwise, they cannot treat you well. So, if you tell them, I've been smoking since 10 years, and they can see your lung and figure out that you're not smoking 1 or 2 a day, you're probably smoking 1 or 2 packs a day,
Hmm.
then there's your misdeclaration. You do not want to say something wrong. You want to be honest to your insurance company, because insurance works on a principle called utmost good faith. It believes that whatever you're saying is correct. Whatever they're seeing on your proposal is also correct.
Right. That's very good advice, because I think a lot of us, like especially in India, I think people want to have that jugaad method of, hacking and cheating their way into getting, less premium and more insurance.
Yeah.
I think the new norm should be being very honest with your health insurance company, because the more um, honest you are, the better your process for reimbursement would be, I feel.
Yeah, and it's becoming more and more difficult to be dishonest with insurance companies now, because the government of India, IRDAI, and all the insurance companies are working very hard uh, to reduce fraud as much as they can. So I think you already know ABHA.
Abha number.
So ABHA is something that the government is working on. It's basically whatever you buy, let's say medicines or diagnostics that you get done, or a doctor prescription, sooner or later in the very near future,
They will get to know.
everything will be on ABHA based. So if you've taken a prescription for hypertension and the medicine,
Yes.
you cannot buy without a ABHA number,
Hmm.
or get a prescription without ABHA number. It won't work. You buy and you don't declare, so there goes your declaration. The
We will talk about the Abha number in our third segment also,
Yeah.
because I think that's super knowledge that a lot of people need to know.
Right.
But, just for my next question, I wanted to understand, can I change my policy midway in the year if I'm not happy?
You can absolutely do that. Not midway. I wouldn't say that you can change it midway, but yeah, you can change it at the time of renewal. 45 days before the renewal is your window that opens up for you to move from one company to the other. In insurance jargon, it's called portability. It's from one particular insurer to the other insurer. Just like you port a SIM from one telecom service to the other. So all you have to do is you be healthy. If you're healthy, if you're fit, if you're fine, you can move from one company to the other. Not a problem.
And how much do these health insurance premiums typically cost? Like, I mean, I know that it would be a very varied
I just
thing.
want to add one more thing in portability.
Hmm.
So in the other thing to remember when you port from one policy to the other is that you get the benefit of continuity. So if you had a sum insured and a bonus ongoing, and you bought a new sum insured in another company, which is equivalent to the sum insured plus bonus in this company, the continuity goes on. You don't need to wait for that much sum insured. So it's a very good way to move from one company to the other because you get the continuity. You do not need to wait for more diseases. You don't have to. Uh, it's an ongoing policy for you.
And how much do these health insurance premiums typically cost? I mean, I know that there's a lot that would impact it, but typically, like say a young guy, 24, 25, starting their corporate career.
So a person who's 24, 25 can buy a policy with as low as 7, 8,000, let's say,
A year.
a year, and as high as there's no ceiling to how much he can pay because of the policy features. But lowest, I would say, with a basic cover is 7, 8,000.
And what about senior citizens?
Oh, that's something that we need to work on. The entire industry is working on it. The premiums have skyrocketed. I would not say otherwise. I pay for my parents' premium, and I can tell you they are very expensive. So it's something that, like I said, if more population gets on board, the lower the premiums get. But overall, if you're above 60, you can look at a figure which is above 50,000 rupees
Right.
minimum.
Right, I know because my father's a senior citizen and we pay 87,000 rupees
Yes.
for his
Yeah.
insurance premium, and I know it's extremely high.
And I take that money every year from you. I don't feel great about it, but I can tell you that they are becoming very expensive. So policies like Nima Bupa's policy makes a lot of sense.
Yes.
If you're young out there, buy early so you don't need to pay. And hopefully you don't claim before 60. So just saying. The other thing is that, with premiums, don't look at it like an expense. I would say all of you can look at it like a peace of mind expense. You're paying for your peace of mind. Insurance is all about peace of mind. So you pay and you know that if something happens to you, somebody's covering that cost. So that's my answer.
Gaurav, thank you so much for this amazing podcast. This ends our second segment because we'll now soon begin our third segment, and audiences will have to wait for another week for the third part to come out. But I really want you to stay tuned for the third part, because if you are someone who's taken a healthcare insurance policy by now, and I hope you have, I think the third portion will really enlighten you of how something works in its very deep level. Guys, stay tuned and watch out for the third part. Now, before we end, I'd like to thank our sponsors, Decode Age. Decode Age is India's first longevity research company aiming to increase the health span of people. The supplements and tests are based on the latest scientific breakthroughs in the field of longevity and aging sciences. The supplements they provide target the biological mechanisms that cause aging. For example, as we age, the NAD plus levels in our body decline, leading to mitochondrial dysfunction and genomic instability. Two main reasons for biological aging. Now, by supplementing with Decode Age's NMN, one can replenish the NAD levels in the body and tackle aging at a cellular level. Now, there are numerous clinical trials and experiments indicating that NMN increases the health span of individuals who consume it. I take it myself and it feels great. Apart from NMN, Decode Age offers other longevity supplements like spermidine, AKG, fisetin, and transresveratrol. If you want to start your healthy aging journey, then Decode Age is the place to be. Do visit decodeage.com and use my coupon code ANANT to get a discount.